Hey everybody, Mark from Northeast Bass Fishing. How you doing? Well, one of the requests I got was to do a video on stick bait fishing, which is something I really don't do as much as I used to be honest with you. I don't throw a wacky worm, Senko, or a general as much as I used to. I tend to throw a Ned rig more, or I take the smaller stick baits and throw them on a Ned, like a 4-incher. But the wacky worm is still a great way to catch fish, especially when it's really tough out. So there are times when I'm out there and it's really rough and they don't want anything, where I will go to it. And I also have some stick baits that I like to flip too. So I just want to kind of show you the baits I have. Maybe I'll just show you the baits first, because I think everybody, you know, if you're watching this channel, you've probably heard of a Senko before. But there's a lot of other options. And now, mind you, I am not someone who throws a lot of Senkos, but I do have a few. And when they first came out, now this box is all just like darker colors, bigger 5-inch ones, and fat ones. And when I first started throwing a Senko, this color was killer everywhere I went. I don't know the names of all these colors anymore, but this like light blue one, whatever they call it, was awesome. And when they first came out, like everybody, we killed them on them. Everybody killed them on them. It was, it was just an easy way to fish. One of the issues I had was a lot of fish got gut hooked with it, throwing it that wacky style, because you wouldn't even feel a bite and you would just see your line swimming out. And by the time you set the hook, the fish has already got the bait down his throat, which was one of the negatives, in my opinion, of the bait. But really, probably the first stick bait Senko that I threw was just this, not even that one, just this white one. The 4 or 5-inch just pearl white one. And I used to throw this just on like a 4-aught EWG hook. And I just used to twitch it along like a fluke. And I threw it that way. That's how I threw these. And I would kill them on it, because it has that great natural wobble when it goes down, and you would twitch it a couple times and just let it sink down, and the fish would hammer it. So this was the way I started throwing a Senko or stick bait. And the issue was that it's a super soft bait loaded with salt, so they would tear easy. You catch 1 or 2 fish, maybe 3, bait's gone. That's the issue with the Senko, and they're not cheap. They weren't as bad then when they first came out as they are now, but they weren't cheap. But a lot of these natural colors like these, I killed them on these. Caught a ton of fish. But the durability of the bait and just the fish getting gut hooked sometimes started to make me go away from it a little bit, and then I would start flipping it, catch plenty of fish flipping on it. But throwing a wacky worm, if all else fails, a wacky worm, I don't know if I showed you guys this whole box. This is like the lighter colors that I used to like to throw, which I probably threw more than the darker colors. But if all else fails, a wacky worm is hard to beat. This is, I believe, a mixed group of Senkos and other brands. Just some different colors to show you fast. These are all the ones that I'll talk about from Bill Alexander. Xstended Life Baits ones I have from him. Some different colors, I'll show you that. You guys have seen other videos I've done on that, which is a new style of stick bait. You see that? Some more of the ones from Xstended Life Baits, but that's just a few. I mean, you've got the General, which is a great one, the Accent General. This color here, this I can't even read that. The pack is, let's see if this one's a little clear. That watermelon, orange, red, this is like the 4-inch version. The 4-inch version of that, I tend to throw in a Ned head. That's the bigger version there. You can flip it, you could wacky worm it. That color I love, that watermelon, red, green, whatever, or orange, red. That's just a killer color right there. You saw the other Senkos. I always like these ones with those yellow tails, or chartreuse tails. The small one here, the 3-inch, is a great Ned bait. This pink color the 4-inch or the 5-inch is just killer in dirty water. Norm's Bait and Tackle, Crown Point, New York. I bought that. So got the sticker on it. This, I think, is even, I don't even know if that's a 5-inch size. Garden State Bow and Reel, Dino's Place in Jersey. It might be a 5-inch or 2. But the Senko, you know, here's some really, you guys who remember, there's the old Senko packs. I always love that color with those yellow, chartreuse tails. The Yum Dinger is a good one. This watermelon or green pumpkin yellowtail, I used to take these up to Merrill Creek and just kill them on this. I don't know what it was with this color and the Dinger as opposed to the Senko. They just loved it up there. It's like probably the only color I got of in the Yum Dingers. Wacky Worm. Now this is some of the big. I don't even know how big these are. Let's see. These are 6.5. This is for you guys who live in the Northeast, around Pennsylvania, New Jersey. You go to Wacky Worm. Wacky Worm has their own brand, and this is their 6.5-inch Wacko, which is a huge. Now this is a stick bait, but I don't throw these on a Wacky. All I've ever done with these, and excuse me, and they work quite well, is just flipping and pitching these. This is a great flipping and pitching worm, the 6.5-inch Wacko. I don't know if they still make them at Wacky Worm. I would imagine they still do. But great bait. A couple of those I'll show you. But you don't even, you can just put a 5/0 hook on that and flip it out. You don't even need a weight, and it works. I've shown you guys the Xstended Life Baits from Paul Wilson, Bill Alexander, and that's the little trick there on how to Wacky style that. I'll show you guys that again at some point here in the video as I go through these. But there's a ton of different options. If there's a different brand, everybody makes a stick bait nowadays. Whichever one you like, use it. I mean, any of these I've used the most is probably just Paul's, because Paul and Bill's, because it's easy to rig and they last forever. And the Max Scent General, I probably use that. Of these other ones, probably the most. I love that color, if I didn't tell you that before. But, any brand you want, everybody makes one. If you've got a favorite, go with it. I don't think anyone is better than the other. All of these catch fish. They will all catch fish. Just what you can afford and what you like, and you got faith in, go with it. And there's a few different ways you can rig them up. I haven't thrown a straight Wacky rig. I mean, I did a few times last year, but I haven't done that as much when the fishing's been tough. I tend to just go more to a Ned now. But when I do use, a Wacky rig, a lot of people like to use, the Wacky tool. If you guys have never seen this before, I'll show it to you. I'll just grab one of these Senkos out of here. You take your stick bait. It's just a hollow little metal tool here, and you just pop the bait in. Put there's the hole. You line up your O-rings on there, and you just pull your O-ring down on the bait. Whoop. And then you can move it wherever you want. So now I've got that O-ring around there. Now the attempt here was always to do this so you don't have to put the hook through the bait and save on your worms. I don't like doing it this way. Sure, maybe I'll save a couple of baits, but if I'm Wacky worm fishing, I know I might lose a few. I just don't like the way when I put this through there, it doesn't always seem to sit, the hook doesn't always seem to sit the way I want it. I like it better without it. Now, for you guys who do it, who love it, and it works for you, go for it. This is just my personal preference. And this is just what do I do with these? These are just, I prefer like these 2/0 or 3/0, just these worm hooks. These Gamakatsu worm hooks. Something like that, just a straight worm hook. I just like something like that. I like that better than like these Wacky hooks. I just seem like I get a better hookup ratio. But these are good when I'm going to show you with the Xstended Life Baits. They seem to be a little better for that. But I'm going through the bait. I prefer ones like this. Now, if you guys want to use the O-ring, do it. If that's your thing, do it. Me, I prefer to do it without it. Do it the old-fashioned way, the way we all did it when we first started throwing a wacky worm. Just find that egg sac in the bait and just pop your hook through there, because now when I'm throwing it, it always is straight. The hook is always coming up. It's always where I want it. When I'm pulling it back to the boat, I'm getting that nice swimming action from that worm as it's kind of going like, you know, going like this back to the boat. Sure, it's gonna rip on me. You know what? If I'm catching fish, so what? I'll put a fresh worm on. But to me, that's the best way to do it. For you guys who still do it that way, great. If you like to use the O-ring to save a couple baits, whatever. I just think I like this hook set better. I like the way it, you know, the hook is always in where I want it. I prefer just doing it the old-fashioned way. And then when that hole starts to get a little beat up, you just pay attention to it. And then you can move it down the bait a little, move it up the bait a little. I'm sure you're, you know, with the Senko, they're very soft and they're gonna tear eventually, but that's the name of the game. I want you to buy more, so I want them to tear on you. But I prefer to rig them that way. To me, it's the original way to do it. It's the old-fashioned, so-called way to do it, and it just works better. It just works better for me. And as I said, I like these style hooks for throwing a wacky rig. Now, if you guys like these actual wacky hooks, like this, these are the VMC 2/0s or whatever ones you like, Gamagats, whoever. To me, they're a little thick for going through the bait. But when I'm using something that's not necessarily a Yamamoto, which is so soft and tears so easy, you know, you can get away. Now the Dinger is a little more heavier plastic, even with the salt on there. If I go through there, pop it through, you know, that's a fine setup. If you guys like those kind of hooks, I don't mind them. I just prefer the other one. Either one is good, whatever you like better, but I prefer just those worm hooks as opposed to these, you know, wacky hooks. But they're all good. That's just the Dinger. The plastic's a little stiffer than the Senko and the Yamamoto. Now, you can throw your Senko on, you can just flip it. Now, I don't tend to flip the 4-inch or the lower, the 4-inch or the 3-inch. I'll put that on a Ned head. But if I'm gonna throw, this is a 4/0 hook. If I'm gonna throw the 5-inch, I'll just Texas rig it. Let me see if I got any 5-inch ones here. I'm sure I must. Yeah, here's a 5-inch Senko. I'll use the 5-inch Senko as a demonstration. It's a watermelon black red flake. Great color. Senko, you know, when you start to tear them up a little, the salt starts to come out. Now that's a 5/0 hook. Yeah, we went the 4/0. 3/0 or 4/0. I usually go a little bigger with the 4/0. You don't even really need a weight. If I'm just gonna Texas rig this, which is the way I throw it if I'm gonna throw this as like a fluke type bait. Just do your regular Texas rig through the middle of the bait there, cinch it back, and so you always want it to be straight there, and then you can skin hook it. With that, I can flip this. I can throw it like a fluke, and you know, I like that. With the 5-inch, the 4/0 hook is fine. I could throw the 5 probably. I don't need to overpower it too much. That EWG hook, I like the red one. And all this I'm throwing, I don't usually use a bait caster. Maybe when I show you these other ones, maybe I'll use it. So I'm really doing some heavy duty flipping. But a lot of times I just have this on a spinning reel. Spinning setup. The one I have over here, which I would tend to use for it. This is one of my Enigmas. That's my Ardent Seaforce 300 spinning reel. This is my Enigma Epon series rod. This is a 6.9, I think. Yeah, 6.9 medium light. So that's a 300 series. You could get away with the 200, whichever you prefer. And if I'm throwing these like this, I'll just throw it out and twitch it around. Twitch it, let it fall maybe in a hole in the weeds. Twitch it, let it go next to a dock, next to a rock, next to weed lines. If I want to throw it this way, and then it's more weedless. So if it's heavier cover, and you know, I'm not worried about getting hung up, because if you're throwing it wacky style, there is always that chance, you know, you're going to get hung up. So with open water, your Wacky style is a good way to go. But if you want to get this into a little thicker cover, throw it up maybe more towards the bank, towards some rocks, let it kind of settle down, swim down there, because you will still get a little bit of wobble. Not as much, obviously, you know, as you do without the without a Texas rig, but still a great way to catch them. And you don't even need, if you want to put a little 16th ounce weight, maybe 1/8 ounce weight, I don't even think you need it. A lot of times I just flip these with no weight, just weightless, because you know, it's a pretty heavy plastic with all the salt in there, and once it gets wet, they cast pretty well. But if you want to, you know, bulk it up a little with a little weight, get it down, maybe you get a little more weed, it's fine. Just like worm fishing, it's really not that different. But I will tend to throw this style more kind of like a fluke, move it around, then let it fall, move it around, let it fall. That's when I like those light color ones even more. But that watermelon with the red flake would be great. Now these big ones, if you want to throw, if you want to look at this from a flipping and pitching standpoint, which I often do, this is one of those 6 1/4 inch. I don't know, 6 1/2 or 6 1/4. I forget. I think they're 6 1/2. Yeah, 6 1/2 wackos from Wacky Worm up in Pennsylvania, which I'm assuming they still make this big size. If not, I'd be shocked if they didn't. But you've got a 6 1/2 inch big worm here. Now these I'll throw in that 5/0. You can probably get away with a 6/0 because they're such a big bait. I mean, not that a 6 1/2 inch worm is that big, really. This I might add a little weight, because when I'm throwing these, I tend to be more in the mindset of flipping and pitching heavy cover. So I may want to get it down there a little deeper, be able to get it into the weeds a little better. And you're just gonna Texas rig it like normal. You know, this is a 5/0 EWG hook. Do your same setup. If I was gonna throw this big worm, I would, you know, if I wasn't getting anything on a jig or a Texas rig, creature bait, or whatever, throw this on. Flip this around. Throw it with a 1/4 ounce weight, a 3/8 ounce weight, 1/2 ounce weight if you got heavy cover. They will eat this bait. Any stick bait, any 6 1/2 big, you know, a Senko or a dinger, or whatever it is you guys like to throw. I just like these. I always like these big Wacky Worm ones. They got nice colors. They're pretty durable. Good scent to them. So that's just that. I think that's the Alabama Crawl one. I've had these for a while. the color tags have kind of fallen off over the years. But it's a great color, that green pumpkin with the orange. You know, I love that. But this is a great way to, you know, catch a fish on a stick bait. You know, if you're really just worm fishing. But so if you're looking for those bigger options, why not? Not that you can't wacky these. I just haven't done it. I just haven't done it. You could probably throw it on a flick shake, but that's another category. I don't want to get too into the weeds here. And the other style, if you guys if you guys are new to my channel, or you haven't seen any of my, you know, some of my older videos, check out the videos I've done on you know, Xstended Life Baits. Some Paul Wilson, Bill Williams up in New York, MTO jigs. You guys have seen my video on that. You know how much I love those. And then I started making soft plastics, and this is their Apex stick worm that they came out with, which I guess maybe last year. And it's gone through a lot of changes, and supposedly there's one even softer than this one, which I can't wait to try. But this bait, and if you guys have, you know, if you want the full video on just this, check out my other videos. I'll even put the links to it in the description of this video. These stick baits come with that mesh through the middle, which not only makes this bait really durable, but it makes it so that you don't have to go through the bait to Wacky rig it. Now this you could get away. When I've thrown these, I've kind of used these VMC hooks. That's why I bought a few. Because I don't need really, I'm not worried about that longer, because I'm not going to go through the bait with this hook. I'm just going to go through the mesh. I'm just going to pop that hook. You'll feel it pop through that mesh. So now when I'm wacky rigging it the same way, I'm not tearing the bait at all. And that is not going to rip on you. That is not going to rip on you. Now this is completely new. It's the only stick bait on the market you're going to find like it. If you guys up in New York who have been to Fish 307, you guys have seen these on the shelves. And for any of you guys who've seen my videos, you might have gotten some. I know the guys in Florida are enjoying them a lot right now this time of year. But it's a great option for you to, fish a bait for a long time, and you're not gonna catch the fish, and he's gonna come jumping out, and the bait's gonna go flying. That mesh is tough. That mesh is really tough. So these work really great. So this I can go with either hook. When I've used them, I've used this one. If I've flipped these, I've used a screw in, like a EWG, but a screw in type, because it works better with the mesh on there. But this is another great option if you want a wacky worm on that Xstended Life Bait. So that's just I just pulled out a few of them. You see how it comes with the mesh through it. You just trim it down and leave that little spot there wherever you want it. I just happen to put it right there. You could have it down here and right in the middle. I tend to go like where that egg sac area is. It doesn't matter, wherever you like it. You could leave a longer one and move as if that hook, I mean, you cannot, they do not want to come out. You almost have to cut your line and go through where the line tie is, because then it'll kind of go through. You can get through with a little bit of effort, but you can see that mesh is still there. So this is really an awesome idea. You're going to see a lot. If this is the first time you're seeing this, I encourage you to check out my other videos on it, because this is something that's it's going to really be very popular this season. But, oh, one other thing. If you want to throw it as maybe a shaky head. Now this just happens to be one I pulled out of the pile over there. Any type of shaky head you want. This one is actually tend to be a little. This is a 1/4 ouncer, but it's a 5/0 hook. This is one of those Edwin Evers, that pumpkin Ed that came out from Yum. I don't know if they still make these or not, but I'm sure they have a version of it if they don't have this specific brand. But any one you want that's a shaky head, and this is kind of like more of a oversized shaky head with a big gap hook. It's a 5/0 hook. Now I would throw, you could get away with a 5-inch Senko, no problem. This 6-inch one would work on there. Let's see what we got here. You see, I got another 5-inch. Might as well use my favorite Senko color. Now, if I wanted to throw this as a shaky head, one of these type of shaky head setups is fine. It's nice with the screw head. Some people don't like the screw head. I happen to like it. I just think it makes it easier. Just screw that stick bait into the top of the bait. Get it where you want it. And then with these type of hooks, you're just Texas rigging it. So always just kind of measure it out with your finger, bend the bait, cinch it through, and then you can skin hook it, and now I can throw that Senko on that shaky head. Senko, stick bait, Senko, whatever brand you like, is great bait on a shaky head. That was just one other option I saw in there. I figured I'd just show you quick, and this is great because then you've got that tail flopping around. Great way to present that stick bait, maybe a little deeper, and now you've got a nice. I mean, this is a big hook on these pumpkin heads. You might want one more finessey. That's fine too. And you might even go with the 4-inch Senko. But that is kind of it. It's pretty simple fishing. When I'm throwing a wacky rig now, if you happen to go by me on my boat one day and you see me throwing a wacky rig, you'll say, "Man, must be a tough day for Mark," because it's not my first option for fishing. If you were going to take kids out fishing, throw them a few wacky worms. They'll catch fish all day, or Ned rigs. But I really resort to this when things are really, really, tough. I'm the first one who's going to, have the flipping stick in his hand, or the spinner bait, or the chatter bait, or crankbait, or whatever. More power fishing stuff. But you can power fish with this too. When I'm flipping this in heavy cover, I'm power fishing. If I'm going to take these 5-inch, stick baits, I'm power fishing them. Now, you're not necessarily power fishing a wacky worm. That's you want to be more finesse. You want to get some bites when the bite is tough. So I don't do it. That's kind of like my last options when the bite is tough. But if you're fishing in a, if your lakes are tough, if your lakes are heavily pressured, if they're small lakes, if there's a lot of people fishing one day and everybody's throwing a Ned or everybody's throwing a spinnerbait, throw that wacky worm across there and you might do well. You might do well. But when I'm fishing it, I'm kind of just chucking it up to the shoreline. I'll base my hook setup with what I'm fishing. If it's a lot of heavy weed, I might go with the weedless version. But let's just stick to doing it as a wacky bait. It's okay. You can get hooks that have weed guards on them. I don't like to use them, but they are out there. You can get hooks that have little, almost like heavy fishing line weed guards if you think you need it. I don't have any. I don't think. If I do, I don't know where they are, but I kind of just stick to this open hook. But there's nothing wrong with pulling this through some weeds. It'll come through pretty easy. And you can then aim for like holes in the weeds, just let it fall down. And it's a great way to catch them. It's a great way to catch them when it's really tough and they just aren't responding to the normal power fishing techniques or just whatever. But I mean, there are some people that always throw wacky rig. They do it more than I do. This is one of my more finessey options when other things are not really working too well. But, just throw it out, give it a little twitch, because you'll see that worm kind of move across there. And that's very tantalizing for a fish. And, aim for shoreline cover, aim for docks, aim for, if there's floating docks are great for it. Pontoon boats, along the sides of pontoon boats are great for it. As I said, weed lines, rock. I don't want to really throw an open hook whack. Me personally, I'm not big on throwing a wacky worm around a lot of wood. I just think you're asking for trouble. Then I would go more for this style. If I wanted to throw a stick worm, I would throw it more like Texas style if I'm going to throw about heavy wood. But rock, weed, it's fine. Outside of weed lines, inside of weed lines, work it nice and easy. With your spinning setup, I don't think you need much more. If I know it's going to be real heavy cover, I might use 10 pound. Most of the time I got 8 on there. I don't usually go to 6, but 8 is usually kind of as low as I go for that. I like to have a little bit of a line strength there. Fish have the opportunity to run into, if you're fishing around weeds, the minute you catch them, they're going to run into the weeds. So you want to have something to be able to pull on them a little bit. But that's really it. It's really actually pretty easy fishing. It's all just depending on what bait style you like. If you're going to throw just strictly wacky worm, that 4-inch Senko or Yum Dinger or whatever it is, the General works great for that. But also don't forget that 4-inch, any of those 4-inch stick baits on a net is really good too. It's really good too. And you could, you can throw it, like I said, you could throw it on these Shaky heads. If you like these type of wacky hooks, they're fine. Like here they are. Here's the one I took out of the box. If you like these style of wacky hooks, that's great. I prefer this style. And I like to just go right through the bait. Just go right through the bait. If I can get one out. Just go right through the bait, and you're good to go. Here's one of these. Here's a 5-inch. I didn't know I had any of the 5-inch Generals. The Generals probably might, if I was going to do this, I would probably go with the General. But just that 5-inch General. Green pumpkin watermelon. Oops. And as I said, I don't prefer the O-ring. You can go right through the center of that bait. Has that little barb in it. And just, see this? Ow. This General almost feels like it's a little dried out. There's a hole in that pack. But it's a great technique when the fishing is tough. If it's tough, nothing else is working, it's a good way to go. This bag's a little, there's a hole in the bag. A little, oh, there it is. There's the hole in the bag. That's why. Seem like they're a little dried out. Put them in with some new ones. But like I said, whatever style, if you prefer the more wacky hook style, it's great. I prefer the straight edge, the straight worm style. That's my favorite. You can Texas rig it. You could shaky head it. I don't know what to do with that one I had on the shaky head. Put it down here somewhere and I can't find it. I'm sure I'll find it when the video's over. And if you haven't checked out my other videos on the Xstended Life Baits from Bill and Paul, it's a pretty cool idea if you guys like to throw a wacky worm. Pretty cool idea. I think you'll like it. But that's it, guys. If there's any questions, this is what I'll show you that wacky tool again for you guys who have never seen it before. If you like that style with the O-ring around it, you know, use it. If that's what you prefer and you're used to it and you have confidence in it, it's fine. I just prefer the other way, the old-fashioned way, just putting the hook through the worm. I just like the way that hook sits on there better. That's one of those, you'll see those in any tackle shop or place you order online, that wacky tool, if you guys like that. And you know, if you haven't done it, it's an easy way to fish. Like I said, if you're taking kids fishing, it's a great way for them to get bites because they'll catch everything. They'll catch bluegills, they'll catch perch, and then they'll catch some bass, and pretty much anything that swims will eat a wacky worm. Oh, here it is. And if you like it on that shaky head, I mean, that 5-inch Senko on the shaky head is a great technique right there. I don't want to get into shaky head fishing, but I think I did already. Didn't I do a video on that? I might have. But we can throw it on that shaky head. That'll work great. But that's it. I think I'm repeating myself at this point. So any questions on anything, guys? If I missed anything, if you got any tips you want to share, please do. And I love the comments and everything, because it always spurs on more ideas for videos and conversation with the group. And I always find it awesome when guys are kind of talking in the comments there about things they do and baits they like. It's always kind of neat. Way to everybody share their information. But you know, if you guys are in that Pennsylvania area and you have never tried the wacky worm version, it's great. If you guys like yum dingers, those are awesome. As I said, I think probably the General is the one I use the most nowadays. But you cannot go wrong with the old tried and true Senko. If you guys who, you know, love throwing Senkos, that's an old pack. And if you're fishing real dirty water, throw that one. You'll catch fish. But you know, if you guys like, if Senkos is your bait, your go-to bait, it's a great option too. They're all awesome. And like I said, check out the Xstended Life Baits videos I have on here. I'll put links to them. You guys can check them out. But that's it, guys. That's it. It's a great way to fish when the fishing is tough. It's a great way to fish when you need bites. If you guys are tournament guys, I don't have to tell you this. You know, you throw that wacky worm Senko out that last half hour when you need a bite. If you need a keeper, it's kind of one of the staple for almost every, you know, whether you're fishing a tournament or you're fun fishing and you're just trying to, you know, get some bites. It's, you know, it'll get bites when other things won't. It'll get bites when other things won't. But that's it. That's stick bait fishing 101 for me there. So like I said, any questions, let me know. Any recommendations of any bait? Maybe I forgot a style that's good, let me know. But they're all good. They're all good. And a stick bait is pretty much a stick bait. Just depends on the one you like to throw. All right. So like I said, any questions, let me know. So I'll see you guys soon on YouTube. Mark out.